Welcome to the Lift Your Story podcast with guest Dai Manuel, super dad, dating his wife and helping people get out of their own way.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lorianne. I am that gal from Milton, Ontario, Canada, and I'm with...
I am that guy. I am Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas. We'd like to welcome you to our Lift Your Story podcast.
In this episode, we have Dai Manuel with us, and he's super dad, dating his wife, and he helps people get out of their own way. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Lorianne. Absolute pleasure to be here. You as well, Roy. It's wonderful to meet you, and I'll let you guys continue, and we'll get into it in a minute.
Okay, so I know you're an author, so I'd like to know what led you up to writing a book, and then what's your book about?
Geez. Well, let's just dive right in there, all right? No, I love it. I've been someone that's been in the wellness space now for, 26 years. 26. I'm in my 26th year. And so I've worked as a personal trainer, as a coach, an equipment supplier, supplements clerk. I've been a lot of different, I've just worked in the space for a long time, and I've seen a lot of things, but also being someone that didn't come to it naturally. I didn't come to fitness. Like, I didn't wake up and was an athlete, I think we all, every once in a while, we know people in our circles, or remember those people back in high school. There's the kid that plays like 3 sports professionally. It's just like those phenoms. It's like, wow, you are just awesome. That is not me. And I sort of shared a little bit of this with Lorianne in a previous conversation we had. I was morbidly obese as a teenager. So I didn't come from fitness, but I discovered fitness. I discovered health, right around the age of 15 years old. And it became a lifestyle after I shed that weight, or released it, I like to say, and just really developed a new, healthier mindset. It became apparent that I had some knowledge. And the coolest thing was people started asking me at the age of 17, Dai, we've seen these changes that you've made. Could you help us? What do you think I should do to lose some weight? And at 17 years old, and up until, my short time on earth at that point, people coming to me and asking me for my opinion, that was a new experience. I just wasn't used to that. And that was my first taste of coaching and mentorship. And I was like, wow, I really like this. I feel very fulfilled doing this. Like, it just, I could do this bigger. I could do this more. Maybe this could be my life. And, 20 years later, after doing that, I started a blog about 14 years ago, writing, just because I went to school for philosophy and English lit, if you can believe that. Yeah, nothing near the fitness at all, but just stuff I was passionate about. And I always loved to write. And so then I got back into writing, had a blog, started to build a readership, and just started to help a lot of different individuals. And I found great fulfillment in that. But the thing is, and Roy and Lorianne, you may resonate with this, or those that are listening or watching, I think you might resonate with this from the standpoint that, we always have the best of intentions. I think everybody, if they want to be healthy, they would say, yeah. Like, if you ask someone, hey, do you want to be healthy or healthier? I've never met someone that says, well, no, I'm just right. I think we're all looking to make subtle changes, but sometimes knowing how to make those changes, and ultimately, why are we making these little shifts, these little commitments to our health? We don't feel so connected to it. And so I saw the same issues popping up again and again and again, things that would derail people with the best of intentions to reach a healthier lifestyle, but constantly feel like they're failing. And it's not a good place to be. I mean, I know what that's like. I've lived in that space before. It's very debilitating. It really limits us in so many ways. And so I sought out to create something simple that people could start to implement daily, to create a regular practice around fitness, meditation, and personal development. And that is really the foundation of what the Whole Life Fitness Manifesto, my book, which I ended up writing 6 years ago, it just gives people a really simple system, a process, a ritual, really, that they can do every day. Only takes 2% of every 24 hours. So 30 minutes every day, 15 minutes of movement with purpose, 5 minutes of mindful meditation, 10 minutes of personal development. And that's it. But you commit to a 28-day run. So 28-day phase. And then you take a week off, and then you go again. And it's an ongoing thing. It's a lifestyle protocol, right? It's not a program that you start and then you don't do it anymore. This is ongoing. It's general maintenance for our bodies, our minds, and our spirit, but it can be done in a very simple way. No equipment required. So that was my goal, was to create something that people could actually maintain with very little thought. and there is effort, of course, but it was, I found that again and again and again, people are like, wow, I just, when I'm stuck and I don't know what to do, this is a really easy thing where I just open up the book to, like, week 3, day 2, and I can do that 30-minute routine, so a lot of people want some guidance. So that's what I put together. And it's I hate to be boastful here, but it's impacted a lot of people's lives in a really positive way. And I'm constantly getting feedback that, man, the results I'm producing have been fantastic. And so I tell people it's a gateway program, if it was going to be considered a program, because it gets people started and it builds up that confidence in oneself that, hey, I can do this. I wonder what else I could do. And so I get people writing me. I ran my first marathon. They went from 0 to a marathon in just a short period of time because they had a system to plug into. So anyways, that's a long preamble of why the book came to be.
Yeah, but I mean, still, it's a, I'm gonna say, maybe not say simple, easy to follow blueprint, right?
Yes, correct.
And so, the average person is, I think would tend to go, all right, I'm going to join a gym, or I'm going to run 10 miles tomorrow, whatever, instead of taking a more logical step-by-step approach. They want to do it all right now.
Yeah, right.
And then that's where the failure sets in, because the mindset is not right. Because you're not going to, if you are 50 pounds overweight, you didn't gain 50 pounds last week.
That's right.
It's over a period of time. But in order to lose that 50 pounds, it's going to take a period of time to lose that.
Yes.
And, everybody wants instant gratification.
That's right. So true, right? I mean, and it
So
can derail us pretty quick. I mean, if we had a pill, let's be honest, right?
Really?
If I could say, here's a pill, Roy, you take this pill, everything's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'd be lined up for miles, right?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
But unfortunately.
But it does become a lifestyle. I was laughing because I had sort of stopped working out. So I said to my sister, she gifted me a trampoline, and I already have an elliptical. So that's not been used. It was collecting dust. As you know what, I'm starting my 10-10-10 program this week. So 10 trampoline, 10, just 10, and then 10, waist twist. So I said to her this morning, I said, guess what? It's been 5 weeks. I'm up to 50. I added 10 but the fun fact is, every morning I feel lost if I'm not doing it. And even if it was just that small 10-10-10, then the 20-20, then the 30-30, then the 40-40, not doing it just didn't seem right.
Lorianne, sorry, I didn't mean to shorten your name there, but Lorianne, I was going to say, it's interesting because what you've just referenced there is that kind of ritualistic consistency that we start to feel. Like when I say ritual, it's different than a habit, right? Like ritual, I feel, has a more holistic connotation. What I mean by that is it involves more than just maybe us physically being there. Like we're there in spirit, we're there in mind, right? Like it's something that we see a lot of value in, and we notice when it's not happening. And it becomes very much connected to our energy. At least that's what I found. Like if I don't get my daily walk in every day, I love to go for a walk outside, listen to an audiobook, like do some walking meditation. Like it is so routine for me, so ritualistic, that if I go a day without that outdoor walk, I really feel like something's missing. And that's where, you really have found something that your body, your mind, your spirit's all like, hey, what's going on? Where's my love today? Right. And it's wonderful to see that, because I think it's such a, you're developing a lifestyle when that sentiment starts to arise, and so I got to commend you. I can't wait to hear about how it gets when you get to the 50-50-50.
I'm already at the 50-50-50. I'm waiting to get to the 100-100-100, but then
I
stop for a while and I'll add something else on and start with the other thing too is know when you're peak. Like, I mean, I can sit there and go, well, I'll tell you when I'm at 500, 500, 500. I know 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. You've got to know that, okay, I'm going to do this until I reach this, and then maybe I'll add something else there. But the fun part was starting small and every week just adding a little bit rather than what you were saying. Like you said, Roy, and I've tried to do that before and it failed, is trying to jump right back in. you know, and it's been almost a year since, you know, I've been at it. So it wasn't
That's
smart to
incredible.
do. But it gets exciting. You go, ooh, I'm going up.
Yeah.
Well,
But you feel good too, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there,
no,
right?
no. But if, you know, like if you say you're starting off, to me, the one thing is being able to consistently, once you start, say 10,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do that 10 for a week or two. And then once you start doing that, you kind of get in that the habit of that. It's like, well, shoot, man, I'm only doing 10. Maybe I could do 15, or maybe I could do 20. And then the more you do, the more you motivate yourself
Right.
to do. I mean, you're pushing yourself without really knowing you're pushing yourself.
And Lorianne, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What have you noticed? And I know it's kind of been a weird year. I mean, we can all acknowledge that. Like, you know, the pandemic year has created some very unique situations for all of us, especially just how we're not seeing people in person as much. But I'm curious, this commitment that you've made. So you've noticed obviously some physical changes, most likely some mental changes, but how have you noticed it impacting just your day-to-day, you know, like your interactions with other people, how you show up for yourself, either professionally or personally? Like, I was just curious, have you noticed how this consistent commitment to your health and well-being has translated into other areas?
It definitely does, simply because I know, I mean, I've always made my bed first thing in the morning, but there was that part missing. But because there's been that little activity, my little heart going a little bit of sweat. I mean, it's not a huge workout, trust me, but even that little bit, just, it pushes me more towards being motivated and feeling more active and wanting to do more activity. I mean, I'm walking my dogs more now too, so it's slowly increasing other aspects. And I almost get frustrated when all of a sudden I sit there and go, oh my goodness, I really just want to relax and watch TV or just read a book. And I'm going, okay, Lorianne, that's okay too. So you have to watch it. You don't push it too far to a certain degree. And I did that last night. I just thought, okay, you're going to just relax, shut everything off, and say, you know, it's okay to do that too. But again, there's the other, you have to watch the balance. But no, on a daily basis, I just feel great. And it's a little tiny workout.
Yeah, right.
Like, whoo, that feels good.
But it doesn't take much. I was gonna say, it just doesn't take much. Like you start to notice, and you know, anybody that's listening, it's like, it's just getting started is always the hardest part, right? Like, it's just going from 0 to 1 is 100% improvement. You know, we never have that kind of return on our efforts ever again once you get started, right? Like, it's I always equate it to, I used to joke with some of my clients, it's like, do you want to be able to do a pull-up? He's like, I've never done a pull-up. Well, what if we had a goal a year from now, you could do a single pull-up, you know, literally pull your weight from a dead hang on a bar to the chin just above the bar. What would that be like to you? And it's like, whoa, well, that'd be amazing. I've never done it before. I'm like, well, it's okay. Like, if we get you to just 1 rep, that would be the goal. And just 1? I'm like, well, it's 100%. You know, like, it is huge, right? And that's the impact of just getting started. That's why I love to celebrate people that are just starting. Like, day 1. I did day 1. It's not like just do it. I love Nike. I think it's a great slogan, but I'd rather celebrate I just did it. You know, it's like, check, done. Now let's celebrate, right? But that very first workout, that very first time you wake up in the morning, you put on the runners, you go out for a nice walk or a jog, like, that's huge. Don't take that for granted. It is amazing, and celebrate the win, you know, because those little celebrations, they also get that positive endorphins going, right? It gets a couple other little chemicals like dopamine, serotonin working in our favor to help us keep doing the good things for ourselves. And so I love that stuff, you know, just get started, whatever it is, just start, you know. It's anyways, I love it. I commend you. Way to go, Lori, man.
Thank you. And I was watching, sorry to go up, but this was funny because I was watching, and there's a group I just absolutely love, and we get together and they're going, we're crushing it. You know, the one guy is, I'm crushing it, and he shows the pictures of, you know, like all of a sudden from before to after, you know, after 78 days, he's got, you know, those abs that are showing. And I'm going, yeah, no, I'm going to crush it my way. Okay. Because mine's a lifetime thing here. So if I get to the 100 and I do that forever, or even if I one day don't feel like do the 100, I'll do the 50. It's the point is, I think it's great. I did when I was younger, crush it, but I'm not at the point where I want to do that. And so This is me crushing it. Don't
Well,
push me.
I think that is exactly right. Just what you said right there. This is me crushing it. Like,
Yeah.
we changed that, right? Like I'm no longer I'm an athlete, but I'm no longer competing as an athlete.
Exactly.
I'm a life athlete, right? I have a good friend, Nick, and I'm going to introduce him to you guys because I think you guys would hit it off, but he's got a podcast called Life Athletics. And he's all about, life's the game, and are you playing it to win? Right. And he talks about the conditioning that we can do to prep ourselves for life. And I always love that sort of metaphor analogy because it is very true. But the cool thing is we kind of determine the rules for our own game, and so as you start to play that out, it's pretty cool, right? If you start to look at life like a game, are you playing to win every day? Are you not? And I think it's that self check-in, right? That ability to look ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, am I being my best self today? My wife has a little saying. She'll often say, if you pretend a reality TV crew is following you around all day, would you be acting the way that you are? And it's something that we do in our household. Like, well, she'd be like, camera, she'll just go camera. And it's just that little cue to our family. It's like, well, we don't like it. I'll tell you guys right now. It's like, oh, because we know she's right, and yet it's funny at the same time. And so it's, how do you create those little pattern interrupts in your own life to sort of do a quick check and balance or a quick reset and adjustment so you can move forward again? Because I think we get stuck a lot, don't we? Like, at least myself, I can talk about myself. I get stuck sometimes. And when you're stuck, it feels like you're in tar, and it's like, okay, I'm trying to go forward, but I'm not moving. What's going on? And to just be able to take a moment and say, what is going on right now? What is the one thing I could do that can start to change this situation for myself in a positive way, right? In a positive way. And so that self-check-in, I'm curious, Lorianne, just because you've shared about what you're working on as far as the 50-50-50 and moving to the 100-100, like, what do you do if you do find yourself not feeling so motivated to do it? Like, what is your self-check-in process? What do you do to sort of reset and get back on the train, as they say?
Okay, for one, a trampoline is a heck of a lot of fun.
This is
So
true.
that's where I
This is
start.
true.
And the thing is when you start with something that fun, it's easier to finish it off because you're just going, woo, that was fun. Let's keep going.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
you do the treadmill, and then you do the, or whatever it is. I have the elliptical, like I said.
Yes.
And I do my weight. But that first trampoline bouncing around is just so much fun that's what gets me going. And it's just a matter of just get on it and start. It's
So good.
like I said, there's an emptiness now. I mean, it's only been 5 weeks, but already in the morning. However, I do get my weekends off because that's my time. And Roy and I decided we do the same thing with our podcast. And we're going 7 days a week, and we're going,
What? What? You guys are intense. That's so awesome. That's amazing. Well, it's anyways, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
One thing you said, is little things. And I can remember hearing this a long time ago. The guy said, look, if you'll just implement one small change every day, in a year, you've made 365 changes.
Yes.
Look at your life on the day you start and look at it on day 365 and see where you've gone to. He said, it will blow your mind away.
Such very wise words, right? It's that I think, was it Darren Hardy that wrote The Compound Effect? And I think it was sort of referenced in that, not quite the same words, but that's what he was getting at, was that this small little compounding of our littlest of habits are actually the ones that create the greatest amount of change in our life, typically, and not always in a good way. Like, I think back to myself, from the age of 9 to 14, it wasn't like I was sitting at a buffet 24/7, right? But it was just that consistent little bit extra food every day. Things that were very high in calorie, but very poor in nutrition value. And on top of that, I wasn't moving my body very much at all, other than walking to school and home. It just, that little bit every day, 5 years into it, I'm like, whoa, doctor's pulling my mom outside of his office. Betty Ann, your son dies morbidly obese, and at the time I had no idea what those words meant, but it didn't sound good. and it's like, wake up, right? It's like, whoa, hello. Okay. how do I get rid of this now? And that's where we start to run into these things. Like we all admit, yeah, I want to make some changes, but sometimes trying to just figure out what's the best way to start can be challenging. So I love what you shared, Roy. I think it's so on point. If they can just do one little thing that starts to change our situation in a positive way, that's all we got to do. But you do that every day. And whoa, just a matter of time. Everything is different. And it's so cool, right? Because then you realize, well, I did this, right? That self-approval, I think we're all seeking, that agreement that, wow, I made a commitment to myself. I kept the commitment, and look at the results. Wow. And I always want to acknowledge that in people. It's like, listen, give yourself credit here, because you did this. Often I have my clients, oh, thanks, Dad, you helped me so much. I'm like, I just held the door open. You keep choosing to walk through it, and I'm just here to help guide. You have to do all the work. and I think that's the one thing about health and well-being, is as much as we all wish we could find a job where our employer would say, you know what, Dai, we're going to hire you and we're going to pay you to work out, meditate, journal. If there is anybody out there, by the way, that has a job like that, I'm available. But we have to take on account that, listen, we have to have full ownership of our own health, our own life, our own bodies. And at the end of the day, people might care for us, and they do. They love us very much, but we still have to do our own work. They can't do it for us. And so and I know this is a really tough conversation, especially I battled this a lot when I became a dad for the first time, because I'm like, new baby at home, career, my health. I'm like, oh, geez, I'm already at work all day. I can't change that because I have to provide for my family. But now we got this new baby. My wife's at home by herself with the new baby. Like, I should really be there when I'm not at work. I can't justify going to the gym for an hour, like that just maybe I'll work something out later. And so, I started to see my health decline, and it was because I just wasn't taking time for me. And it's tough, right? We get into that sort of martyrdom versus parenthood. We put the child's needs before our own. And I get into a little bit of heated debate sometimes with people on this. They're like, well, you're being super selfish. That it's your responsibility. I'm like, yes, I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that. But if I don't make myself a priority to work on my health and well-being, who's going to be there to look after my daughters as they age? When they run into the challenging situations, which they will, we all do. Can I be the best version of me to support them at the time? Will my health allow me to be resilient enough to deal with the ups and downs? And that's where we have to get back to. It's like prioritizing time for ourselves. And sorry, I'm going to get off the pulpit because I feel like sometimes I get into preach mode. You guys just put your hands up. It's like, whoop.
You make a perfect point. We schedule our whole life, but we never schedule for me.
Well said.
We schedule for everything else but ourselves. We fit ourselves in when it's left over, what's left over.
It's true. It's hard. Right. So I like to invite people to reverse that. Block the time in your calendar first for you, like just a little bit. I'm not saying like 8 hours a day, every day. It's like, whoa, hello. Sorry, family. You're all on, I'll get to you later after my next 40 hours of working on me. No, it's not so realistic, but a little bit every day. And I always people that are dealing with a family dynamic that might be quite demanding, lots of different personalities, different age groups, just different types of people. I always say onboard them to what your goals are, invite them to be part of the process to support you, not to give you permission, to go do something. I often see this with spouses. I often work with married couples, to help them with their lifestyles. And I often find that, that's where we get into some conflict, right? Because it's like, well, when do I get to do mine? When do I get to do mine? And versus like, why don't we work together to figure out a schedule where we can both do it, or maybe we do it together. But it's not a matter of seeking permission from either one. It's seeking support from both. Does that make sense? Like it's a shift in the mindset, but I know myself. I used to always think I got to get my wife's permission to do this, or I need her
do this, dear?
approval.
Yeah. Can I do that, dear? Is it okay if I do this, dear? Is it okay if I do that?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
No.
Versus, if you have a good conversation, and it's funny, like, I shouldn't say it's funny, but people are still rather surprised. But when I'm speaking to someone and we start to discuss the possibility of working together, I'm always like, well, before we make a final decision, when you're having your family dinner tonight, I like to have a conversation with them about what we talked about today. I want all of them to know how you're feeling, what your intentions are, and what you're looking to shift, because they're going to be impacted by this in a big way. So if they're not in approval and ready to support you with this, now's not the right time. It's just not the right time, and people either respect that or they get intimidated by it, because sometimes we share things, we're vulnerable with strangers, and we'll sometimes say something to a stranger that we haven't even intimated to our family yet, right? And so they don't even know sometimes. They have no idea how we're dealing or what we're dealing with, what we're struggling with, how we're feeling about ourselves, especially when it comes to health. And so I'm trying to really encourage people to open up, have that conversation, because you don't have to be alone in that struggle. You don't.
Interesting.
Yeah. One of my sons was complaining about it, no time, the kids work. I told him, I said, Chris, what you have to do is you have to set aside a time for you. Whatever it is, 10 minutes, an hour, midnight, whatever. You need to say, this is me time. There's nothing wrong with that. You do all sorts of stuff. But, and just let the kids know, let Jenny know that, hey, at Sunday at 8 o'clock to 9, I'm going to have Chris time. Don't bother me.
Not always easy. I have this
no, it's not
story. I have a horrible story. It's really bad.
Oh, let's hear it.
When I was married, we had a little gym in the basement, and I would get up super early to be able to work out on my own in order to be me time. That was me time. And then my ex-husband started getting up that early and working out with me. And so if I wanted to work on one of the workout ones, and he'd start, because I had a routine, and he would get in the way of my routine, and I got upset. I said, why are you doing this? This is my time. He said, well, I just wanted to work out and do something together. But I thought, could we find something else to do together? Because this is my time. And it's something because instead of being kind and saying, I really appreciate that. No, I got frustrated because I had blocked that part out. And I realize now, of course, I probably could have used your help, Dai, back then.
No, I think
I was so busy all the time that instead of, having a nice discussion about it, I lashed out, and I thought, it happened for about 2 weeks, and then I just couldn't handle it anymore. And then I just kind of lashed. It was bad for me, bad way to deal with it. But it was interesting how I responded to the fact that somebody was intruding in what I had put aside my time for. And yet he didn't mean it that way, but that's how I felt. Yeah.
And you can't change that. I mean, the way you felt, I think, is very much justified. I've been in that situation myself. And because for me, sometimes working out's meditation. It's my opportunity to sort of just have some alone time, do some thinking, really just be on my own, without any other third-party interruptions. And like I said before, anything that sort of interrupts that ritual that we have for ourselves, it disrupts things. It can affect our energy and our mood. And but again, learning how to communicate, that's what I've struggled with in the past too. And got upset with my wife, and I would say something that I didn't mean. And so the lashing out, I appreciate you being honest about that, because I think we've all been in that situation. So it's just like, okay, well, how do we talk about this? How do we create the expectations for one another, but also, more than that, how do we support each other best? And so anyways, I can relate so much to that story. Thank you for sharing that.
So Dai, how can our listeners reach out to you?
Oh, well, the cool thing is I have a great blog. I'm going to say it. It's great because I'm very proud of it. I am very biased, but I am proud of it. And there's about 1,800 articles on there now, all geared towards helping people get out of their own way, learn a bit. My own internal mantra is I want to educate, inspire, and motivate people in a fun way. That is it. That's sort of my filter through everything passes when it comes to creating content. And so when you get there, just word of caution, it's a bit like a rabbit hole. You'll probably go from one to another, but just have fun with it. Learn, grow. There's tons of free resources. So I like to always invite people, go there first. It's just daimanuel.com. And then if you want to have more of a conversation, I'm most active on 3 social media platforms, and that's LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Those are the 3 platforms that I am very active on. I manage all my own social accounts. So I always tell people, give me a bit of grace. If you reach out, I will respond to you. It just might be in a couple days, sometimes right away, but most likely a couple days. But I love having conversations. It's like, hey, I heard you talking to Lorianne and Roy, this is my personal health ritual. Just share that with me. That's a great way to start a conversation. Let me know that you were listening and what your aha moment was. So yeah, that's the easiest way to get a hold of me right now.
Okay,
Thank you so
great.
much. And just quickly, I'm going to plug this in, but we will have to have you back because Dai has some really interesting stories about changing his life completely and, packing up and taking the kids and going around the world. I mean, those are just beautiful stories. So we will definitely have you back. But please do learn more about Dai because there's really some interesting, along with dating your wife for the 21 years and such.
We got 5 or 10 more episodes right there, right?
Well, I'd love to just quickly plug, I have a TEDx talk that was just released as well. And so people look that up. It's all about vulnerability being a human thing. And not a man thing, not a woman thing, but a human thing. And I talk about how I discovered vulnerability and it's become really very much instrumental in how I've led my life for the last 10 years and how I show up and try to make an impact. And so I love to just plug that just to let people know, check that out. It gives you a whole nother, just something to think about, And, but I'm really proud of that. And it's been a long time coming.
Right.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. Thanks again for being here, Dai.
No,
thank you both.
Nice meeting you.
Yes, likewise. Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Lorianne. And thank you all that are listening and watching.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to visit us at lifterstory.com.